That seems to me that might be
Halder taking the cut through. Here we go. He's going to close in on Silva. He took the cut through on the corkscrew last time too. Is he going to do that again here?
Let's see, he's awful close to Silva. Silva goes a little bit deep. He is going to cut right through, comes in front of him, but he's a little bit out of sorts. Car manages to get itself back together, and Nico Silva tries to cut back on him, gives him another little hello, sneaks inside, down into turn 10, and makes a pass. I can't remember the last time I saw a pass into that turn.
It's going to take a brave move for the four chicanes here. No side-by-side yet from Sanchez. Trangarade will have to hold on through a tight section. White flag coming to checkered flag now. Sanchez needs a big corner exit here. Hard through the corner towards the final chicane. A slide for Trangarade. He hits the turtles. Sanchez with the pull. Side by side, they all slide. Trangarade wins it. My goodness, what happened?
Is that going to be enough to counteract anything? That's a battle for the lead as well. Frisha trying around the outside now. He's going to try to hold it out, but again, Poli Portinen able to hold it out. Oh my goodness.
And in the back, you can just see that is Juan Costa looking out of place, trying to get on the inside of Jukka Talonen as they come around side by side and just shoved out to the grass. Thomas Simon has struck. He struck again, the second time in two corners. On the inside, going around the Lesbo 1 into Lesbo 2. Jukka Talonen and Thomas Simon going at it. As we jump back to the car number 66 in 9th position, that is going to be Steve Gray looking to make the move on Alexander Wilfred on the outside, making it nice and tidy. Hold on to your hats, come on. Don't do it now, gentlemen. It's still a bit too early. Oh, on the inside, still holding. So he's hugging the inside curve as much as he can. Steve Dwyer on the last corner of the last lap makes a move and overtakes to take 8th position.
I think he has as well, but here comes the move for Philip Hammer. It's going to be down to the inside, going through the first corner, done and dusted. Lucetta tries to fight him back a little bit, but it's a little bit too late. But no, Lucetta's going to have the inside coming up the rise to Druids.
And in through Druids goes the slides. Philip Hammer's not able to make it effective on the outside, but on the inside.
2021 marked the end of the multi-class championship in the POC, but with iRacing providing an enticing GT3 Porsche, who could resist letting the competition rip with a new toy? Suzuka will be a great first test to see who's got the car's handling down as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Suzuka is among the rare circuits in the world that come in a figure 8 layout. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, DJ, 2022 starts on an impressive note here, taking this fantastic GT3 car onto a fantastic track. How we expect them to race?
Well, Joe, it is going to be a real challenge for these drivers out here, especially with these rear-engine, rear-wheel drive Porsche GT3s. That means that the backside of the car is going to be real slippery, and there's going to be a lot of oversteer trying to get itself around the corner. They work their way up through the snake, for example. Watch for some switches out coming maybe through Degner. And 130R is an area we've seen a lot of drivers having problems. Also look for some missed areas coming up through Spoon. That's a very tricky section as well. But as for overtaking, really the 2 best places that we're going to see it, well, that's going to be a good dive going down into the Casio Triangle and then around the outside of that sweeping famous first corner. Overtaking will be a little bit limited, but it's really going to be a race all about car control and just keeping all 4 wheels on the same way.
Certainly seems like it. And before we get to that racing, we want to remind you of our sponsors, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. As well as Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Let's take a look at the championship from last season and how that wound up, starting off with the GT1s. And up at the top of that, it was Travis Brown who came away with the championship. Corey Lotvilla followed him home about 40 points behind, with Michael Johnson winding up taking the 3rd position. BJ Fulton and Michael Ost were a bit of a distance behind, rounding out your top 5. But there were some even bigger distances, DJ, down in those GT2s.
There were indeed, Joe. Jerry Freckleton was able to take that championship by consistency outright there by about 40 points over Mark Rondeau, who was able to pip John Momeyer really in those last 2 races. Momeyer coming home 3rd. A big gap between Momeyer and Aaron Edwards, and then an even bigger gap back to 5th to Jeff Shulam.
Now, as for today's race, different format, slightly at least, as we take a look at that. It is round 1 out of 25, and instead of the 2 classes, as we mentioned, there's just the single class racing the 911 GT3R. That is an actual GT3 class car. I know the naming conventions can get a little funky with the Porsche at times, but this really is a GT3 car. It is a 30-minute race as we're used to. We will have some enduros throughout the season, and we'll get you up to speed on which ones those are as we approach them. Open setup for this series as well, which there's a lot that can be done to GT3 cars to try and find speed. So hopefully drivers have been fiddling with those out there in the warm-up and maybe even in the qualifying, which is going on right now. And they still have plenty of time left in it with 8 minutes to go, but it is Travis Brown who holds a relatively comfortable 3/10 over Brian Salehi.
Does indeed, and a lot of new names showing up here tonight. Ooh, as we've got a driver sliding off there on the exit of the second Degner. That was one of those danger zones that I talked about. But a lot of new names there, but most of the usual suspects up near the top of the list with Brown, Salehi, Fulton, Lockville, Ost, Johnson, Abrams up there. But a new name looking very, very quick, and that is Tom Layton in that #1 machine. Only about 1800ths off of Brian Salehi, 4 seconds. So a very quick car potentially there.
And about half a second off of pole. This is his first time, as far as we're aware, in the Porsche Owners Club Series. So he is hitting the ground running for sure. Another newcomer is Andrew Beckner. He's down in 9th, a little farther away, about a second and a half off the pole time. But it is very tight in that midfield. He, Doug Baccignoni, and Paul Newton are only separated by a couple hundredths of a second. So that could switch around amongst them as we watch Beckner come through the Casio triangle and to the start-finish line. This doesn't look like he is on the greatest of laps. He's a little over a second down on his best, and indeed, yeah, he puts in a slightly slower one and heads on around for another to get going. They've had quite a bit of time in the qualifying, 40 minutes total to try and set a time. Considering we got a healthy field of 28 drivers, they're going to need that time.
Yeah, they are indeed. And this is going to be a big change, especially from the drivers coming up from the GT4s that were running out here last time. A little bit more downforce in these GT3 machines, which means that the aero wash is going to be something they're going to have to take into consideration. That's going to be particularly brutal coming through the Snake and then coming through Spoon as well. They're going to have to be very, very careful about that through those medium to high speed corners. And in qualifying here, you really want to space yourself out. The draft is pretty effective coming down into 130R, but the sacrifices that are made as a result of it having to back off through some of the corners, just not nearly enough to justify it.
Tell you what, they also got to worry about the car slipping and slide around just because of the heat. It's pretty toasty on the track surface, 104 Fahrenheit that they are dealing with on there, 40 degrees Celsius for the metric folks, and a little bit of wind to boot just to add some difficulty to that at 14 miles an hour. Have to watch and see if that is gusting around and changing direction. That's really the big concern on that one. It's also quite humid, but that should add some of the downforce back for them as we continue to watch them try and get quicker here in these last 5 minutes. And Tom Layton looks like he is on an outlap currently as he heads into the Degners.
Yeah, taking a big chunk of curb there on the first Degner. Not nearly as much on the second. That's really the line you want to take, although you want to be a little bit careful. These suspensions in the GT3s, they can take a wallop, but you don't want to unsettle the car too much because there is just not a lot of tarmac there in the middle of the Degners. And if you have to sort of re-get the car, catch it back up, put a little bit of opposite lock into it, that's going to send you right off into the gravel trap, Joe.
Not seeing many drivers that are up on their best time right now, although Jacob Abrams has a good shot at trying to improve. The 728 sits in 8th position. And let's see what he can do here in this red and white car as he comes out of the Casio triangle. He looks like he is improving as it sits right now, but as he crosses the line, the lap is deleted. He must have had an off track somewhere along in there, and he's even going to pull over and park it for now, as he will have time to try and come back out for one more if he wants it. So let's take a look now at Michael Johnson. One of the storylines carrying over from last season, DJ, he really wants that first victory as a solo driver. He was not able to get it last season. Only win came in the team race at Auto Club. And right now, qualified in 7th, doesn't look that good, but as we saw in the warm-up before we came live, it seemed like a lot of cars were spinning here today. So I wonder if just keeping it planted on the track could net him either a podium or a win.
It very well could indeed, Joe. And Michael, one of the more consistent drivers out in the field. It's very rare that we see him make a mistake. And so that could be a little bit of what he's banking on. Very difficult to overtake around here. So I think he's going to want to try to get that position up a little bit more if he can. Not able to get it woed up on that previous lap. There we get a look jumping back through the field. I love that you can see a little bit of the shadows from the cars on as they go over that famous figure 8.
And Johnson parking it. It's only going to give him enough time to get back out there if he exits the pits in about 30 seconds here. Otherwise, he's going to run out of time. So this famous Falcon livery that we see on Travis Brown, our pole sitter, is still got those 0.3 of a second over Brian Salehi, who has parked it himself. Again, he's going to have to get back out if he wants to try and challenge for the pole position. Leighton is still rolling, so we'll see if he can do anything to challenge the 300. Travis Brown, our current reigning champion here, and I think he's going to try and carry that momentum into the 2022 season, not just with a pole, but a potential victory.
Well, I think he'd certainly like to, and we've seen Travis put down some mega times here, and that 0.3 of a second advantage, if he can pull that out, even half of that, just 1.5 per lap, he is going to be off into the distance. As we said, very difficult to overtake here around Suzuka. We ride on board with Travis as he crosses over the start-finish line. Should be able to get this final flyer in nice and easy. He's going to chuck the car into the first corner here. Such a difficult corner to get exactly right. You feel like you want to get on the power early, but you've got to just wait it out and then into the world-famous snake.
He crossed very close to that time limit. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to start another one after this, so this might be the last gasp for the Californian. Tom Leighton is definitely on his last lap, and his previous one improved by a little bit, and it came within 7 thousandths of being on the front row. Brian Salehi just barely in front of him, and I'll keep an eye on Leighton to see if he can go even quicker, because he doesn't have to improve by much to snatch that second place away. Travis Brown now coming down into the hairpin. I can report that Johnson has come back out in time, that he is going to be able to start his final flying lap.
All right, so a lot of drama shaping up here for this final run into the corner. As we watch Travis Brown coming out of the hairpin, very crucial to get a good exit out of there. You want to take a little bit of a late apex, try to get on the power as early as possible to really get a good blast here up to spoon and carry a lot of good momentum. Let the car float out to that middle of the corner and then wait to get on the power.
Indeed, and he flies up the back stretch, up towards 130R. It's looking like he is just about dead even with his best time. So it's going to be marginal on whether or not he can improve, but he still has quite a buffer to those behind, so he doesn't necessarily need it. He is right on the edge coming through 130R, slams on the brakes. Will he get another lap is the question. No, he is going to back it down, and he is done. I think he wasn't aware, because it looks like maybe he's going to try and start a lap, and the clock is going to run out before he gets there. And that is it for him, as he's got the checkered flag next to his name, so he is done. Looks like Leighton was not able to improve on that final lap. He'll have to settle for third at best. Jason Hill is going to be the next one across in the number 7, but it doesn't look like he's quicker, and indeed, he is going to slow up as he comes to the line. John Momeyer, who is about a second down on his quickest lap, is going to be the next one through.
And here comes John in that very familiar red and yellow machine as he brings his way through 130R. Looks like he cut that corner a little bit tighter than you'd like to. Whoa! Big slide there through the Casio triangle. Don't think that's going to be a good lap for him.
No, he is well down on his best time, so it's a wasted lap. As Michael Bolton is next, also looks like he's not improving. Michael Johnson might be up. My timing and scoring's gone a little bit wacky on him. So let's watch and see if the 9 car can manage to go faster than his 2 flat 3, which was his very first lap in qualifying, and has not been able to improve on that since. He comes out of the chicane and to the line. He needs 3/10 to get up into the top 3 rows, and he does a 2 flat. That is not going to be good enough. He is 6/100ths off of 6th place.
Oh, that is going to be a little bit of a heartbreak there for Michael W. Johnson. He's going to have it all to do during the race, waiting now to see if anybody else is going to get a good time in, and it doesn't look like they are going to be able to.
Yep, that is it for our qualifiers. So, looks like we'll see 27 drivers take to the grid here today. So let's go through that starting order. And Travis Brown snatches the pole with Brian Salehi, his rival from last season, going to be starting right next to him. Tom Layton begins from P3 today, the newcomer, looking to be a man to watch out for, as BJ Fulton will be to his outside. It'll be Corey Lockvilla starting from 5th today, as Michael Ost begins in P6. Michael Johnson only good enough for 7th out there, as Jacob Abrams begins from P8. Andrew Beckner, another newcomer, he'll be good enough for 9th, as Bacignone starts from 10th.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Paul Newton, followed by Mark Rondeau, with Matt Hollander and Matthew Sipek behind them. Aaron Edwards will line up to the inside of row 8, followed by AJ Letary, with Jeffrey Schulam and Adam Fulton in row 9 behind. John Momeyer will be 19th, and rounding out your top 20, it's Jim Slavic.
Michael Robin will start from 21st, as Jim Walsh is 22nd. Then you've got Brian Cooner in 23rd. Alex Filsinger is 24th, followed by Larry Haas. And you've got Michael Bolton and Jason Hill, the last two to qualify. Dong Nguyen is not going to be allowed to start this race due to a lack of qualifying lap, unfortunately. So 27 drivers for the first round. And of course, we're going to get a rolling start here today for the first round of a 25 race season. It goes throughout the entire year and around the virtual world here on iRacing. These Porsche GT3s will compete.
Yeah, it's going to be a great, great season, Joe, stretching from January all the way to December. And for those viewers who saw the Porsche Owners Club last year, they know it could be an absolute incredible race and an incredible season from start to finish.
And sometimes wins are at a premium in this series, too. Obviously, Travis Brown took a good chunk of them up in the GT1 class. Can he repeat that now that everybody is competing in the same class? Certainly looks like he is going to answer that well here today. But we wait for the rest of them to grid up, and then we will go racing out here in Japan. So, few new names, a very healthy field. Will they adjust well to all the newcomers? Will the newcomers adjust well to the dynamic of this series, which is filled with many faces that have raced against one another, not just here on the sim, but in real life? So they kind of know what to expect. They might not know as well as some of these other guys.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. That is one of the things, and that's one of the things that'll be interesting to see is as the year goes along, seeing just how many drivers we start to learn their little quirks. Who likes to go into the corner a little bit faster? Who tends to brake later? Who likes to try to take a corner flat out? That's something that some of these newcomers will start to develop the knowledge base about them, and as will the drivers as the season goes along.
See some of them trying to get those tires and brakes up to temperature here in our short pace lap. Both Brown and Salehi trying to accelerate and brake up at the front of the field. But they only pretty much get through 130R and the Casio triangle, and then they're going to be released as Brown exits that famous chicane. Porsche pace car leaves them be, gives control to the 300. He waits patiently for the green flag. Looking for it as they come onto the downhill front straight. Holding them a long time here. Everybody getting very checked up behind. And there's the green flag. They start to accelerate away down into turn 1. Are we going to get a clean one into this double right-hand bend that can be oh so tricky when everybody is this close together? Big send up the middle from Michael Johnson, who gains multiple spots there at the start. I see one spin down in the midfield. He spins off to the inside. Otherwise, no incidents.
Yeah, that was a really, really good move there from Michael W. Johnson, just showing the real-world experience that the driver of the number 9 has. You can see him trying to work on the back of BJ Fulton right now. BJ, in turn, that is Leighton getting a little bit squirrely through the first section of the snake, and that's Fulton trying to take a little bit of an advantage of it. Let's see if it plays out here as they work their way up through Dunlop and into the Degners.
We almost got into the back of that number 1 machine. Thankfully, did not touch him hard enough that it spun him into the Degners. One of the big danger zones on this track. Not seeing anybody spinning around quite yet. The only one that we've had so far appears to be AJ Lettieri, who I think went off earlier as Jason Hill had a small off, but we're already into the hairpin, and there's a pass for 4th now. Michael Johnson already up 3 spots since the start of this race.
And a very opportunistic move. Whoa, we've got a big kerfluffle there in the back. A bunch of checking up by drivers left, right, and center.
Yeah, Beckner got held up by cars slowing up around the outside. It looks like Hollander tried to make a move. Those two came together, and then drivers just had to scatter to get away from that mess. But it looks like Rondeau takes well advantage of that as he skips away into 10th. Beckner has more issues now. Looks like he's off the track in Spoon.
Yeah, exactly. That Flying Lizards liberated machine just not looking like it's gripping up. Remember, very, very hot track here. Very easy to spin those rear tires in that position. But we focus back in on your leader, Travis Brown, as he works his way around.
Brown holding about an 0.8 of a second lead now over Brian Salehi. Leighton's not giving up on that 3rd spot, but instead of BJ Fulton, it is Michael Johnson that is now trying to chase him down. A very hungry IMSA driver that wants to prove himself in this series. Looks like BJ Fulton might have some more pressure from Corey Latvala as he starts to approach from the 6th position, about 0.3 separating those two as they come into the snake.
And there's no real way to get by here, but it does look like BJ Fulton, loses a little bit out. I think he just took that portion of the snake a little bit wide, starts to carry some speed. You see a little bit of the ebb and flow here, but Latvala looking very threatening coming up through Dunlop. Watch for him. That may be a late maneuver we send down into the hairpin, but here momentum shifting back to BJ Fulton as he closes in on the back of Michael W. Johnson.
Wants to try and snatch that spot back, but he goes wide at the first apex, and then he's slow. He gets a bump. That is Corey Latvala that gets into him. Corey tries to allow him to hold on to the spot as Ost now has to check up. Jacob Abrams, this is really causing a domino effect amongst them.
It is, and I'm amazed nobody went off track there. Very good heads-up driving, and I think the big people that are thankful about that are Ost and Jacob Abrams, who looked a little out of touch, but now they lose touch again. Corey Latvala looking a little bit threatening, though. You can see him poking his nose out to the inside of BJ Fulton, and here comes, that was Abrams as well, maybe trying to make a move up into the snake. It is all over the place, Joe. I can barely keep my eyes straight.
Yeah, Ost was the one we saw in the blue car, dipping his tires into the grass off the hairpin. That slowed him up big time, despite a fancy new paint job. Unfortunately, the car's struggling to keep it clean. Now he starts to catch back up the backstretch, and we see BJ Fulton, who at one point was trying to attack Johnson, now suddenly having to play defense. Corey Latvala just behind him, not close enough to attack down into the Casio triangle.
No, they're not, but this is where late braking is going to pay off. Corey Latvala trying to get a better run away, but it does look like BJ Fulton just a little bit stronger there out of that chicane. But in behind them, Travis Brown there up in the front, making the fastest lap of the race as he starts to pull away to the tune of about 1.1, 1.2 seconds from Brian Salehi.
Got a lot of battling down towards the back. Jim Slavic, Adam Fulton, Jim Walsh, Roban went side by side down through the chicane, and Fulton comes out on top of that. Oh, did something happen to Latvala? Latvala and Ost are at the side of the course in turn 1.
Oh my goodness, two of the good battlers there. We see them come together, and my guess is that there was a little bit of argy-bargy there going into that first corner, Joe.
I think Ost was a little ambitious on this one. Through 1 and 2, he tried to get to the inside. Let's see if we can get a replay. And these old rivals came together. Here we go. He was a ways back. I'm surprised he made up this much ground. And then it just went south from there.
Yeah, it really did, and I think that was a combination thing there for Ost. It was one that he was carrying a little bit too much speed into the corner, wasn't able to fully break down enough, and he did see a little bit of an opening from Latvala, but unfortunately for Michael Ost, that door was always going to close. Whoa!
And that is Sipek, who is off the course in the 12. Did he just touch the grass there? Nope, well, he braked too late, and then Brian Cooner was into the side of him as he tried to collect the car. So that was a strange one. Thankfully, everybody's able to keep rolling. We are missing nobody at the moment. All 26 starters are still out there.
Yeah, so everybody keeping the car pointed the same way. There's a lot of good runoff around here that drivers are able to get into and maybe basically save the car a little bit. Got a good little battle starting to shape up here, though, going down to the Casio Triangle. That's Leighton trying to get around Brian Salehi.
Certainly threatening. At first, it looked like he was dropping back a little bit, but now he is on it. And Salehi's having to go defensive. He's losing touch with Travis Brown, the leader in front of him. Good gain along the front stretch with the slipstream. Leighton's going to get to the inside, braking a little bit deeper. He's got the desired line. Can he finish up the pass? Yes, he can. The newcomer, the rookie, is into P2 now.
And absolutely perfect on the exit there of the corner. You saw how we just kind of planted the car in the middle of the road, backed off a little bit to back up Brian Salehi behind him, and that gave him just enough breathing room to accelerate and get a better launch up through the snake. So perfect overtake and perfect little micro defense there from the newcomer, Tom Leighton.
We've had another problem in turn one with Oost. It's two separate incidents at the same time. Oost spins off, and Brian Cooner, for some reason, misses his brake marker, almost like he had brake failure, and plowed into the tire barrier. There you see him zip by, almost like there was a screen freeze or something there.
Yeah, just didn't even hit the braking point. That has to be a mechanical issue, Joe. I've never seen a driver make that kind of mistake.
And he has left the server, so that is our first DNF of the day, unfortunately. And Oost struggling out there. The good news is he does have a spare car waiting for him. So if he continues to have problems, he can try and duck in and take care of that. And we now glance over at Mark Rondeau, Doug Baccignone chasing him, Paul Newton in there, and Matt Hollander, series organizer, is also involved in this quartet.
And keep an eye out here for Newton. He looks very, very close behind Baccignone. You see Hollander kind of poking his nose this way and that. Let's see how these drivers take 130R. You can't. Oh, that was a big lift there from Paul Newton in the back. He had a decent run, I think, on Baccignone. Misses going into the Casio Triangle. Is this going to open up an opportunity for Hollander behind him? I don't think he's quite close enough here coming out of the corner, but definitely some spicy action starting to develop.
Yeah, he needed a little bit of a better exit than that one. So Hollander takes the 69 down into turn one behind Paul Newton once again. We'll have to wait till later because there's not many chances to pass down through the S's. I was keeping, and I was about to say I've been keeping half an eye on Johnson here because you can see that Fulton continues to hound him pretty much every corner. But he's not been able to find a way by. I almost wonder if BJ's being held up since he did qualify in front of Johnson.
He very well may be, and this goes into what I was talking about, Joe. Very, very tricky to get an overtake done here. You have to be absolutely flawless coming up through Spoon, really, to set yourself up at all, or just get a mega run coming out of the Casio Triangle to be able to get a pass going down into turn one. Sometimes see drivers really send a full send almost like that from BJ Fulton.
Definite contact between the pair of them. That slowed them up a little bit, and Jacob Abrams is enjoying this because he's got that 7-8 up to 6 from where he started in 8th. He inherited the spots from that wreck we saw into turn one, closing down into Spoon. A look to the inside. He's given space. That might have been ghost contact because off spins Michael Johnson, and now Abrams is going to try to get another 2 for 1 as he goes side by side, and we got a drag race down the backstretch between Jacob and BJ.
Yes, we do, and there you can see it. It's Abrams by a nose. One of them is going to have to back out. You cannot go too wide down into 130R, and there indeed, it's going to be Abrams ahead of BJ Fulton.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
And Fulton's off. Fulton spins and hits the barrier coming through 130R. That was a big thunk. He's going to be able to get it rolling once again, but Johnson's already passed him along with all the other cars that have passed from that first incident.
And Joe, that is that aero wash that I talked about, the lack of downforce on the front end and the rear end of that car, losing a little bit of grip. It just looked like the rear end broke away there for BJ Fulton and absolutely took him off flying.
Remember what we said about keeping the car on the track and pointed forward. Abrams now up 4 spots and hasn't really had to make much in the way of overtakes in the process. Now, Michael Johnson finds himself in the thick of things. Baccignoni, who is fighting with Rondeau, Newton, and Hollander, has a new friend.
Does indeed. Ooh, a little bit of a wide run there through parts of the snake for Newton. It looks like Michael W. Johnson may try to force his way through around the outside of Dunlop. Great move for Michael.
Wow, fantastic stuff. And the 9 is now back into 7th, which is ironically where he started this race. It was his great start that put him where he was. Oh, and we have a problem with Jacob Abrams. Just as I was talking about how consistent he's been, the commentator's curse strikes once again, and he now falls into 6th. And it's Mark Rondeau instead who is in 4th.
A little bit of contact there between Abrams and Johnson. I think Johnson wasn't anticipating him going as defensive. And, oh, we've got another off in the back there. That is B.J. Fulton again. I got to think that car has picked up some damage. Yeah, you can see it there on the rear wing.
Yeah, it seems like he didn't hit anybody that time, but there's got to be something from when he made that little bit of ghost contact and then later hit the wall. Coming out of 130R. We continue to watch the fight coming onto the back stretch between these 5. Actually, I think is it 6 now? Well, no, it's gone back down to 5 because it looks like Rondeau skipped away in that purple and red machine. Hopefully everybody's safe through 130R this time. Oh, and Newton is going to spin around as Salehi is off as well. The drivers are really struggling today on this hot track. There goes Paul Newton. Thankfully not into the wall, but certainly with a scary moment through that fast left-hander.
Yeah, Joe, and that is just the track absolutely tearing up these tires. It's a little bit more abrasive than a lot of circuits that we've come to before as we've got a side-by-side battle. This is Abrams trying to go down to the inside of Baccignoni. Has it done and dusted and woed up under him, and it looks like Michael W. Johnson's going to get very interested in this battle as well.
He gets a nose ahead of Doug, and he's going to get through. So the 59 finds himself back into 6th. Michael back up to 5th. Jacob, after having that horrible moment of losing all the positions that he had gained, gets them right back and is back into 4th.
Oh, don't blink or you will miss things in this race. This is absolute insanity out on track, Joe. It's incredible.
And I'm kind of curious. We can keep the cameras here. What have the lap times been like between Brown and Layton? Because I think the number 1 might be holding Brown honest, if not gaining on him, the way things have been going. There you can see it. Nope, I was wrong. Looks like there was 1 lap of gaining just a little bit. Even still, like I said, Layton's only about 3.4 seconds behind Brown, so it's not a huge gap currently.
No, it's not. And as this race continues to go on, tires are going to get harder and harder to control, specifically going through this section of 130R. And you're really going to see drivers start to test the metal. Who's going to want to take this absolutely flat out to be pushing? Who's going to lift off to try to save their car a little bit? It's going to be very, very telling.
So those two hold at a bit of a stalemate, but there's a little peek into the inside of 130R from Matt Hollander, decides against it. Unfortunately, that may have cost him a good chance there into the Casio Triangle, even though he breaks very late. There was a big off in the background from Brian Salehi, who's trying to make up for lost time himself. After being 2nd place for much of this race, he is wallowing down in 9th.
Yeah, he's got some work to do to try to get up, and there you can see up ahead, Matt Hollander trying to make that move on Doug Baccignoni. He got a better run out of the Casio Triangle, almost banging doors as they come down to the first corner. That's going to be Hollander ahead.
So Matt Hollander now up into 6th position, qualified 13th today. So a good 7-spot gain for him, and we're only halfway through this race. Let's see if he can keep that up. That's going to be the real question. A lot of other drivers have fallen afoul of mistakes, and he certainly is not immune himself to the occasional one. Oh, we lost Salehi. Salehi has had a big incident in the S's. He's hit the wall, and he's taken a tow.
Oh no, day going from bad to worse for Bayan Salehi as we watch those drivers thunder over the first curb there in the Degners. That's a great camera angle from our camera guru, Dougie Beard.
Well, Salehi, unfortunately, is going to call it a day as he exits and becomes our second DNF. Didn't even hit the wall that hard, but he must not have been happy about how this one was going. But we continue to watch the battle for the last podium position. Marc Rondeau is currently there, and Jacob Abram wants it, and he wants it bad.
Yeah, he does. He is really hassling Marc Rondeau. Gets a good run out of Spoon. Here he comes. Now, he's got to be careful here, being this close, tucked up behind. He doesn't want to do anything too crazy. That's the move, though. Go to the outside around 130R. See if he can sweep around the outside. Here he goes.
Oh, and a loss of control. Rondeau falls out of the podium and even falls out of the top 5 as multiple cars go by. He finally gets it going, but in front of him, there goes Corey Lotfula deep. Lotfula trying to get back on course just in time to keep it in 8th place. Rondeau settles for 7th. This means that Michael Johnson is back into 4th once again.
He is indeed, and trying to close in the best he can on Jacob Abrams. Obviously, Abrams having to do some pretty fierce battle on that last lap, but Johnson was about 2/10 faster. You can see the differing lines.
Ooh. Man, that was very wide. Sorry for Jacob Abrams. I was afraid he was going to touch the grass and spin out and give Michael Johnson the podium, but it was not to be that time. So much craziness has been going on with this group that they are 18 seconds behind the leader. You compare that to the 4 seconds that Leighton, the next car up, is behind Travis Brown. There's been a lot of goofing around here, and it is costing any opportunity to win for this group.
Yeah, it really and truly is, and that's going to be a big moment of relief for Tom Leighton. He doesn't have to worry about any attack behind him. He can just kind of focus ahead and see what he can do around there. He's matching pace at this point, it looks like, with Travis Brown. He was about 0.03 of a second faster on that last lap, so let's keep an eye on that gap. Oh, as Paul Newton has an off.
That was coming into the Deckners. It's a strange place. Not sure what in the world was. He must have had a cut course penalty or something, because he just suddenly slowed. Now he's able to get going. That was a very strange one. He falls down to 16th. He was a driver who was very quick in the GT2 class and then graduated up into the GT1s in 2021, but hasn't really been able to find his footing, unfortunately. Rondeau down to 7th. He's being chased by Corey Lotfula, Doug Baccignone just in front of him.
Yeah, and Doug doing a very good job here. He's been very consistent. That was a very wide run there for Rondeau, and I think behind him, Lotfula knows that. Look at the pressure he's going to start to apply. Already going into the drag race, and there goes Corey Lotfula on by.
Nice move from the 22. Still has a lot more work to do, though. He qualified in 5th. He's down 2. He probably would like to be fighting for the podium and not trying to just break back into the top 5 here. So, actually, who is our hardest charger? I'm kind of curious. Looks like it might be Michael Bolton from 26th to 10th.
That's what it's looking like for me. He is up 16 positions on the day. The closest one to that, Matt Hollander, is up 8, currently in 5th place.
Yeah, Hollander's been having a nice race here today, and he's just behind Michael Johnson as we see the battle back here. Ooh, there's a big slide there out of Michael Bolton. Sipek is another one of those that's had an off earlier on and would like to try and recover from that one. He stays within about a car length of that gray 127, but he's going to have to get closer than that to try and make a dive.
Yeah, he will, and he's not going to really have an opportunity to do it here. He's just got to focus on getting the perfect run out of the hairpin. Let's watch the lines. Ooh, that's a much better run for Sipek, though, as they come out of there. You can see Baccignone know he messed that up a little bit, trying to cover off a little bit of a defensive line, but Sipek just not able to carry the speed, and that's Jacob Abrams.
Oh! And he almost gets hit by Rondeau. Might have been a tiny little touch there. That was a bad re-entry, I have to say, from the 728. didn't really have a good opening, and that was a self-spin from him. So he gives up another podium spot and falls down to 7th.
And here is Corey Lockville working on the back of Doug Boccignoni. Whoa!
Another one for Abrams.
Yeah.
Wonder if he's experiencing some damage or if he's also found himself with overheated tires. In the meantime, Corey Lockville is weaving down the front stretch to stay in the slipstream of Doug Boccignoni, who tries to go defensive, but he leaves a little bit of the door open. Oh no, and he breaks a little early comparatively, gets a punt. Thankfully, nobody wrecks out of that one. But drivers making more and more mistakes as we continue on into this sprint.
Does that count as a bump draft there, Joe? I'm not entirely sure, but one way or the other, kudos to Doug Boccignoni to get the car caught up under him. I was for sure he was going to be heading off into the wall.
It's I think that needs a new term. That was a shove draft. If anything, really just getting into the back of him. I'm glad that nobody came away from that one, turned the opposite direction. Does look like that left some damage on the front of the 22, unfortunately. And poor exit out of the second. Degner from Boccignoni could open the door again. Here comes Lockville.
Here comes Lockville. Indeed, he's going to... Ooh, I like that approach from him. He's trying to carry a little bit more speed coming out of the hairpin. That's a really heads-up play for Corey Lockville. Now he's going to tuck behind in the draft, try to use a little bit of that overspeed. He's going to have to be careful if he wants to make a move into Spoon, but he's certainly thinking about it.
Covering off the left-hand side through 200R. That's going to give him the inside into Spoon, and that was a wise move from Doug, allowing him to retain that 6th position for now. But once again, a better exit, and this time the over-under worked a treat for Corey Lockville. He's going to get the inside, and this drag race up to 130R should go in his favor, depending on how brave Doug Boccignoni is. Let's see, and not brave enough is the answer.
Just a textbook maneuver there, about 8 corners in the making from Corey Lockville. Massive, massive kudos, and move him up back into the top 5.
Tell you what, Matt Hollander is sticking with Michael Johnson here. I'm trying to look at the lap times, and yeah, Hollander has been quicker than him last lap, and in fact, well, he was about a 10th slower the lap prior, but still, he is retaining pace compared to the number 9 machine. So one little slip up out of Michael Johnson, and he could see this podium slip through his fingers.
Definitely keeping the pressure up there is Matt Hollander. I really, really love this for him. And as we've seen, building that pressure onto the car ahead, it may make you overdrive the car just a little bit. And with as hot and as slippery as this track is, that little bit of overdrive could mean absolute disaster.
Yeah, this track has just been getting hotter and hotter. Remember I said 104 during qualifying? It's 111 already. And it's only going to get more toasty because we are just about hitting noon, not soon, not during this race, but it's about 10:43 a.m. virtual standard time. So the sun keeps rising and rising in, appropriately, the land of the rising sun.
Indeed it does, and I want to focus here very quickly, Joe. This is Travis Brown and Tom Layton. Layton's closing in. He's been able to pull that gap down to about 2 seconds, and on the last lap, he was about 0.7 of a second faster.
And that doesn't look like it was an off lap for Travis Brown either. It was pretty consistent with the rest of his lap. So yeah, Layton, you posited that someone could try and save the tires for later on. And I think that might be what Layton is doing. A 2.7 that time. Travis Brown, a 2.12. He is reeling him in.
Yes, he is. That gap is now down under 2 seconds. I think Layton was playing the long game with us this entire time. He's just got to be careful. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to make this move work, but he is closing in.
And looking at the lap times, does seem like Travis Brown may have abused the tires because they've dropped significantly from his first few laps, which was a 2.4 twice in a row, then a 2.7. And then he hasn't been able to break 201s since those first 3 laps. And as he comes into the Degners, the car could be getting a little bit tougher to push. Speaking of which, Leighton pushing so hard, he dips into the gravel coming out of Degner 2, and I think that cost him a tenth or two.
Yeah, it did. The gap went back up to about 2 seconds there as they come out and get onto speed again. It's hovering at about 1.9, so that may not be great for Leighton, but he's got to try to keep pushing here if he wants to close this down.
Looks like we still have about 22 cars running here in these final 5 minutes. We've lost Kuhner, Ost, Salehi, and it looks like Beckner. Everybody else is still out there rolling.
Indeed, they are, as we focus back on Aaron Edwards and BJ Fulton. BJ trying to claw his way back up through the field. Ooh, nice little check up there for Aaron Edwards, just trying to keep that 277 behind him.
It's getting ever closer. He could have a good opportunity up into the Casio Triangle if he gets a good exit out of Spoon. Let's see who's better on the throttle from here. Edwards in the blue and white, Fulton in the orange machine, going a little bit wide on the exit. Did Edwards keep his foot in the throttle? Looks like he did, but Fulton is starting to gain. BJ gets it within a car length. He is about a tenth of a second back, but he's not going to be able to get side by side through 130. Oh, and Edwards gave it up.
Interesting there. I think Aaron just knew he had a little bit more speed. BJ did, obviously, down on the day, but very, very much a bit of a strange maneuver. I thought for sure Aaron would have been able to fight that a little bit.
So Leighton's last lap, a little slower at a 2:01.2, but Travis Brown, 2:01.4. He still gained 0.2 that last time around.
Yes, he did. So plenty of time to try to catch that back up. But I don't know here, Joe. Under 3 minutes to go. This may not be enough.
Yeah, too little too late, I suspect. You see him heading into the hairpin once again, because he can catch up to him, but then he's got to pass him. I don't think Travis Brown's going to let him have that easily, especially with how he's been dominating this race up till now.
Yeah, indeed, and it's very easy to plant the car just kind of in the middle of the road in those heavy overtaking opportunities and really block that car off and really sense that off coming out of the second Degner. We haven't seen Leighton be able to close nearly as much as we have earlier in the race.
And this track is kind of known for being tough to overtake at, so if he just plays it smart, he could retain this one. I think we're going to get the white flag this time by. Yes, we are. So Travis Brown just has to hold on for one more circuit.
Travis has really driven a pretty fantastic race around here, and he's got that gap up again to about 2 seconds between himself and Leighton. So massive, massive kudos there. There's Barney the flagman waving that white flag for Travis Brown.
Indeed, and yeah, up to about 2 seconds now between them. Brown has responded and cut his laps back down to a 2:01 flat. Johnson and Hollander still have a bit of a race going as they are separated by about half a second. Hollander's going to have to get closer, but again, one little mistake from either one could certainly put an end to it.
Yeah, exactly. This is frankly the closer battle on track. Not a whole lot in between the two. Hollander just trying to put as much pressure as he can to Michael W. Johnson, see if he can force a mistake. Johnson went a little defensive there into that corner, as that, I believe, is a lapped car off in front of him.
Larry Haas just, I think, getting out of the way. Doesn't want to interrupt this fight. Down through the S's is Matt Hollander trying to set him up, trying to get himself into a position that he could attack. This is, again, way, way behind our leaders by the tune of about half a minute. So they are going to finish, and we'll have some time to try and watch to see how this battle unfolds. So there we see our leader, Travis Brown, with a Falcon Tire livery on that number 300. Coming up on some more traffic yet again. Jim Walsh, the next one in front of him.
And hopefully Jim will just kind of get off to the side here as they exit Spoon and head down into 130R. The last thing that Travis wants to do is catch him in the middle of 130R with a Casio triangle.
He's not caught up to him quite yet. He could be held up in the final corner, depending on how slow Jim Walsh takes it. As they approach the braking for Casio, Travis Brown gains a lot of time, but I don't think this is going to be enough to affect the ending of this race. Travis Brown takes the opening win in the 2022 season of the Porsche Owners Club Series here in Japan.
A commanding drive from Travis Brown, able to hold off Leighton behind him, and then back in third. It does look like Michael W. Johnson, Hollander, trying to go for a little bit of move down to the Casio triangle, trying to force the issue a little bit. Johnson wary to it, blocks off the attack, and I think he'll be able to hold it on out.
He saw that one coming from a mile away and was immediately covering the inside. Johnson with a podium as Hollander does get a well-earned fourth after starting 13th. He needs a pat on the back for that one. Behind them, a good battle between 11th and 12th, Sipek and Slavic. Oh, and that's going to come to contact, as that is Sipek who got hit in the rear by Jim Slavic. They break down into the Casio triangle. Matthew was way to the inside, but still somehow makes the corner, and he's going to get 11th.
He is indeed some pretty stalwart defense there in that final corner from Matthew Sipek. A great job to be able to hold on to 11th place.
Which is going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in enduro series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Suzuka. We just watched the opening round here in the Porsche Owners Club Series, and in the end, it was Travis Brown who went from a championship win at the end of last season to a race win at the start of this season to try and defend his crown. Tom Leighton, the rookie with the number 1 on his car, was just shy of that number in the finishing positions in second place. Finished only a second and a half behind him and really seemed faster towards the end. Got to keep an eye on him. Michael Johnson, it wasn't a victory, but a good start to the season with a third place. A solid finish, followed by Matt Hollander, one of our hard chargers of the race, 13th to 4th, as Corey Lotvilla finished in 5th, where he started. Doug Baccignona was P6, and Mark Rondeau was 7th. Jacob Abrams up and down like a yo-yo today and finished where he started in 8th, as BJ Fulton finished 9th, and Aaron Edwards wound up 10th.
In 11th, it was Matthew Sipek who was able to hold off a charging Jim Slavic there at the end. Michael Bolton was in 14th. AJ Lettieri was in 13th, followed by our hard charger Michael Bolton in 14th, with Michael Robon in 15th, Paul Newton 16th, Jeffrey Schulam in 17th, and behind him John Momeyer. Adam Fulton was 19th, followed by Jeff Walth.
Then 21st, it was Larry Haas, 2 laps down, followed by Jason Hill in 22nd. And then from there, it was our DNFs, Beckner, Salehi, Ost, Kuhner, and Filsinger. But we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Travis Brown, finishing where he started this race, but it wasn't a certain thing this time. Tom Leighton came home very close behind and was gaining on him towards the end of the race. So, Travis, we have to ask, were you just managing things at the end, or was he genuinely reeling you in?
Yeah, no, I was just managing things. The track temp was super high, so the rear tires, you could just feel them were really loose, so I didn't want to take any unnecessary chances. So I was just braking a little earlier and, just trying not to overheat those. But no, Tom definitely kept me honest. He was there the whole time. So it's going to be a fun season.
We were starting to sit up and take notice, wondering if this was going to become a fight. In the end, that didn't prove true. But you start off with a win. That's got to be a good sign for a successful defense to the crown. Do you feel pretty confident?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the way I wanted to start it. Put it on pole and drive away. So a little home field advantage. I feel like Suzuka is one of my favorite tracks. So I've definitely probably turned more laps at this track than any other one in iRacing. So always nice. I was happy to see that at the start of the season.
Well, it was a well-run race, but we go from one F1 track to another, Hockenheim for round 2. Do you feel as good about that one?
No, not at all. So got to start doing some practice. I think I've done one official race there before, and it was in a GT4 car. So got a long ways to go, but it's going to be a fun season. These guys, I was super pumped to see such a big field. So hopefully we can keep that up throughout the season.
Oh, well, we'll keep an eye out for you, and we hope that it stays this full as well. Congratulations. Anybody you want to thank for today's victory?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Corey and Matt Sepik. The two of them came over to my house over the holiday break, and we were doing a little, time trial on Suzuka in my motion rig, just to let them try out the fun hardware, and it was a good time. Had some drinks and celebrate the friends. So yeah, good guys, and looking forward to a good season.
I love the camaraderie in this league. That was our winner, Travis Brown, who is now followed by third place, Michael Johnson. See how he feels about this one as he's talking to DJ Clark.
Michael, first and foremost, I got to ask you about the start. That was mega, my friend.
Yes, it was. I just went back and watched it all over again, and I cannot believe I was able to slide around Corey and get just in front of Ost and tuck in behind BJ. And then BJ had the incident, well, it was near incident with Tom going into the hairpin, went wide, snuck up under him, 7th to 4th in one lap, or half a lap. I'll take that every day of the week.
I certainly think you would. And from there on out, obviously, some good battling up and down there. Obviously, the little bit of the bobble, but closing it on the end stages with Hollander there. How much were you driving in your rearview mirrors?
Well, honestly, 0, because I know Matt well enough to know that he's not going to do something stupid, that he's not going to make an overly aggressive kind of boneheaded move. So I trusted that he would do the right thing, and I would see a flash of light in my mirror or something. But that last lap coming around, I could tell that he was setting up, because I did have that bobble on the last lap where he was able to close it. I was able to manage the gap easily. I just didn't want to burn out my tires, and the track was 113 degrees, I think, at the end. It was really slick. So I was just trying to manage the gap, and then I screwed up on that last lap, which is the worst time to screw up, and had that little bobble. He closed it up, and I'm like, well, I'm faster through 130R, but I better cover my entry to Casio, because if I don't, I think he's going to get around me. And he almost went around the outside. It got pretty exciting there, because I did see the flash of lights coming around me and thinking, ooh boy, last lap, this is not my day. Nope, not going to let it happen. And I had the better angle getting into Casio. So I think that was just luck on my part there.
Well, I know we were hooting and hollering on that whole last lap for you, so it was great to see, my friend. But I know we're headed to a track that you know fairly well in Hockenheim next time out. How do you think that's going to go? Can we expect another podium?
Sure. I'll call it now. I'm going to get another now. It's too hard to say. So we've got a lot of new people in this group. There's AJ Leteri, who we know from the 4 Drink Fridays. There's Tom, who is new to this group and is just absolute alien speed. Couple of other names that are new, that are really good and sticking with us. And once they get to know us, they're going to learn how to mess with us and get in our heads. Now, as you guys are aware, and some of the fans are aware, I used to teach at Hockenheim. So just like when we did Summit Point or when we do Coda, I'm kind of expected to know all the little tricks, but all I have to do is do it once and somebody else sees it, and then everybody knows it very quickly. So it's one of those places where, yeah, there's some really kind of janky tricks you can get away with, little offline behaviors, running over some curbing a little differently. But I just, with the talent that we've got this season, I mean, this is a brand new season and the talent level has exploded. So I'll be happy with top 5. I'd like to see the podium again. And sure, we'll call P3. No, P2. I'll get P2 next week and be happy with P3.
All right, we're going to hold you to that, Michael. But you know the deal, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for the podium here today?
Oh, T-Mobile Business. They've helped me out a lot. And Gijo, Sugar Studios LA. Love you, brother. I'm going to have some more of those steaks that you sent me. Those, the ones I had already were fantastic. And then obviously Fix Vodka. They've been wonderful. And a new sponsor is Freedom Supercars. So if you're looking to rent a supercar for the weekend, check out Freedom Supercars. Wonderful people over there. Great opportunities. Insurance, everything is included. So yeah, it's fun just for, like a really cool date night. So Freedom Supercars, look them up and tell them you heard it from me.
All right, I may just have to do that, Michael, but thank you so much. That was your third place finisher here today, Michael Johnson. And now I believe, Joe, you've caught up with his rival there for P3, Matt Hollander.
Yeah, let's get the opposing perspective here. Michael says he didn't really feel worried about you up until that last final corner. Did you feel like you had something for him to try and snatch that podium away? Looks like we haven't quite got the mic working yet for Matt Hollander. Matt, do you have a copy? Not seeming to get Matt coming through here today, unfortunately. So we might have to try again with him a little bit later. Unfortunate, because I'd love to hear his thoughts on that, especially coming up from 13th. But I guess we're going to have to close out in that case. So we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors before we take off. Of course, thanking Porsche, because there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ Zach and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And also check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. And the next time, as we mentioned, is over to Germany. That'll be in 2 weeks' time, Monday, January 17th at 11 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.